In Yu-Gi-Oh!, there are many forms of monster removal, from Thomas classics such as Fisher or Regeki to modern marvels like Cashier Fenrir and a Nightmare lineup. As the game has evolved, it becomes even more important to be aware of how your chosen form of removal affects the game state, and how what you choose to use can influence card advantage. Should I really banish that Necroface? What do you gain by challenging a Fire King board with Dark Hole? Not only do you have to deal with chain links for the effect you're trying to resolve being responded to, you also have to consider triggers whenever you remove a card in question by card effect. For reptiles, this can be exceedingly difficult. The alien lineup, as an example, can require 1 to 2 turns of setup to pull off, and even more modern reptile decks have been moving away from a lot of methods that don't include non-engine or exactly Ogdo Abyss. And with Clash of Rebellion, we now have a named form of removal to help get around this. Enter the Kaiju. While they aren't the first to have some of these effects attribute over your opponent's monsters. Cards like Lava Golem and Sphere Mode have been around for probably longer than some of you have been alive. They are certainly some of the most effective. Kaijus are a fan favorite for removing specific threats, and they don't activate the summon, and in a lot of cases, you aren't ruining your combo lines by summoning them. That is, until we begin to utilize the OgdoRaika engine. Very akin to Valance, summoning a Kaiju can become impossible as the turn goes on, and in Skeletal Soldier's case, can very well ruin your combo entirely. Not only that, searching one of these out can be kind of difficult depending on the build you're playing. Gadaria and Kumongus are both searchable insect kaijus that can be found off of, for example, sending Resonance Insect from field to grave. But what if we had another option? Reptilianne Vaskii is a searchable and-archetype monster with a kaiju-like effect. By attributing 2 monsters anywhere on the field with 0 attack, and does not require kaiju counters to activate its second effect to destroy another face-up monster on your opponent's field, can special summon itself. Its non-once per turn effect to summon itself also means that shuffling it back into the deck with your Raika cards and adding it again with King of the Feral Imps allows you a non-disruptive way to remove threats that often does not trigger a response. With the addition of the Legacy of Destruction power boost, Haggard Lizard Dose allows a new way to reduce attack to 0 to help facilitate our goals. Simply banish Nunu or Naya, or even one of our face-up Ogdoetic tokens off of Daybreak, since Lizard Dose reduces attack based on original attack and not the attack on the field, you'll be able to get around any attack modulation effects. Heck, even banishing OgdoRaika Armored Lizard isn't as much of a big deal because we can simply bring it back with OgdoRaika Bloom or shuffle it back with OgdoRaika Samurai Beetle. This isn't to mention the already difficult to deal with Reptilianne Melusine, which can be highly disruptive to decks that want to deal as much damage as possible and run over your monsters to quickly close out the game. You'll likely be summoning this with your reptiles to both allow for a once per chain permanent damage reduction as well as a target to absorb a pop by your stack sovereign. And what about those instances where you can't target the fields, such as a Melodious board or Resonators with Chaos Angel on the field? Well, we have Reptilian Ramifications. Not only does this card facilitate our ability to add Vaskii herself to our hands, we also gain the ability to reduce monsters' attack without targeting them. This card also, by itself, removes the threat of Apollosa or Memento Cranium Burst without any additional setup. Just be careful of Ash Blossom and make sure you shuffle those monsters back into the deck. While this strategy does require a bit more setup than a Kaiju, knowledge of it going into Game 2 could help put your opponent on edge when letting their attack run a bit too low. Do I let the first effect of Reptilianne Echidna resolve? Am I afraid of OgdoRaika Bloom against a field of low attack monsters? This also plays really well into the Yubel strategy, as the majority of their cards will end up being at 0 attack to begin with, and you don't want to risk destroying Yubel with a card effect. At the end of the video will be a replay from Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, where their strategy was used to help pick apart their board in a very consistent way. While the first effect of Reptilianne Ramifications can be a bit difficult to justify, with the Reptilianne spells being very specific, Reptilianne Recoil serves as an easy way in the early parts of your combo, before setting OgdoRaika Bloom and increasing your attack, to summon out powerful cards that would otherwise require a lot of resources and opportunities to summon out other monsters, such as cards like Nephilabyss, or go directly into Naya without the usual combo routes, giving your opponent a monster you don't want to end up triggering again in the grave. Not to mention the effect to steal monsters with 0 attack and replace it with a token that some decks can't utilize. The second effect Ramifications can be used to go for a Vaskii, a Kodal, or a Yami. Believe it or not, Yami is a searchable reptile hand trap that not only facilitates our Vaskii later in the turn, it can be used to summon itself from the grave later when you need to get a body on the field. We are playing a 2-card combo deck after all. You tell me. In playtesting Vaskii in the main deck, it's proven to be a very powerful way to all but guarantee that turn through recovery or playing through an established board for going second. Ogdo addicts already have an amazing time playing through a lot of interactions, provided they aren't locked out of the graveyard. And with the OgdoRaika strategy really helping a deck push through and continue with enough recursion to play through even more hand traps before even considering to tap out. And as mentioned, coming up is a replay from Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega in which the strategy was utilized against a U-Bell deck, consistently adding Vaskii to our hand to help get around some of the more nasty forms of interaction. Just please excuse the pacing, however. Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega isn't really the most kind to spectators. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.